Hello and welcome to the magic of fishing. Today you join me on a glorious autumn afternoon and I am on a beautiful estate lake in Surrey. It's called Wood Lake and it's in Busbridge near Godalming, and it's run by Godalming Angling Society. You may remember I first fished it this spring back in April and got here at the crack of dawn to watch the mist rising off the lake. And I caught some lovely fish, some tench, bream and a nice perch, and it was the perch that first drew me here. I was tipped off by a mate of mine about the potentially large numbers of stripeys to be caught here if you can find them and you get them in the mood on the right day. Well, today, apart from the bright conditions, does feel very perchy. We're well into autumn now and there are 2 or 3 other anglers on the lake all fishing for carp and they are really struggling. No one's had a fish, and one of them, a nice bloke called Lewis, has been here for a few days and nights and not managed a run. So not fishing well for the carp, but it does feel more perchy to me. We've not had any frost yet, but it's definitely getting a bit cooler at night, and you can see from the spectacular colour of the trees which line this really pretty venue that they are well and truly turning now. Golds, reds, oranges, there are some magical colours reflected in the water of this lake, and I've got a feeling it might be a bit tough hunting for maybe 1 or 2 fish, and might be the best chance towards the end of the day when this bright light comes off the water. But it's just going to be a stunning place to sit and fish for a few hours. And there you can see a different shade of red, the hand-painted tip of a float, a lovely quill made by my mate Andy at Black Bottom Floats, and that just feels like a perfect autumn bite indicator, glowing in amongst the more natural russets and yellows and a few little dappled patches of green as well. It really is like looking at a painting. And the reason I've picked this first swim, having only fished the lake a couple of times before, say once back in the spring and then again on a really warm midsummer's evening, only managed the 1 fish that time, but a nice tench just before darkness fell, is that it's out of the sun. You can see the far bank is still fully, rather spectacularly lit by that low autumn afternoon sun, but it's already dipped behind the steeply wooded valley behind me, and that means this margin is in the shade. And although perch are sight feeders and the water is really clear at this time of year in this estate lake, they don't like hunting in bright, really bright conditions. They prefer dawn and dusk. And if you're going to fish through an afternoon for them, then they're going to prefer generally shade over really bright conditions which you've got on the far bank. That's not to say I won't give it a go over there. I've been tipped off about a couple of swims almost opposite me that might be worth a go later on. But the second reason, and probably the main reason, is there's a big bed of dying lilies just to my left where I'm fishing, and most of the lilies that stud this, or the margins of this beautiful lake throughout the summer months, have now died down and they're hard to see. And this particular bed is still in evidence. You can see all the cables, the stems and the pads that are just about hanging on, and I think that might be where a few prey fish could be holed up. and in turn perhaps some of the big perch either waiting in amongst them or just beyond where I'm fishing in some deeper water. There's about a 5 foot drop off. It's quite shallow where the actual lily pads are, probably just 2 or 3 foot, but just beyond there's a nice drop off to about 5 foot of depth. So I'm hoping there might be 1 or 2 perch patrolling up and down that ledge, looking to strike at prey up above that come out from the pads from time to time. They're the 2 main reasons I've picked this spot, but I'll probably give it an hour or so and then move on if there's no signs. Perch can be quite territorial and they can have their preferred spots, and if they're not there, it can be hard to feed them in from good distances, so you're better off just working your way around somewhere like this trying to find them. So although I've not got many hours ahead of me, you know, it's dark at 5 o'clock this time of the year, I'll hopefully get to fish in 2 or 3 spots, and as that sun gets lower we may get better and better conditions for that one all-important bite. Bit of a breeze getting up at times, which is also helpful I think in terms of just breaking down the penetration of direct sunlight, scattering the rays a bit more. You can see a coot in the distance, silhouetted against the bright orange of those beaches. It's a stunning lake in terms of wildlife, as well as just somewhere to sit and relax for a bit while you hope for a bite. Although location of perch can be crucial at this time of year, just like it can with any particular target species, I am still feeding over the top to try and spur a reaction from any fish that might be down there lurking in the depths. And perch can often shoal up at this time of year to follow the silvers, which in turn are shoaling up for the colder months. They'll be looking for structure to hide in, a bit of depth in the water to protect them from the colder nights. But although location's the most crucial element, you can hopefully feed a response from any fish that are there. So a few red maggots over the top, and then some little balls of chopped up worm and prawn that I prepared earlier. Lots of dendrobina worms to get that strong worm scent in the water, a couple of lobworms and a couple of the prawns, the raw prawns that I've chopped up nice and fine just to get that scent in the water and hopefully get any stripeys searching for some food. And I should be clear, the only reason for my caution when it comes to our chances today is really the short space of time available, because at this time of year we've probably only got a few hours until that sun sinks below the horizon. I couldn't get here until early mid-afternoon, and the second reason is really my lack of experience on this venue. Just the 2 sessions prior to this and just the one nice stripey to show for those hours on the water. But it is somewhere I've been told can throw up perch when you land on them, and I did just fancy coming somewhere local. Anna Stillwater, I've been fishing a lot of rivers this season, and that's what I love to do probably the most, but I fancied a change. And every time you come and fish somewhere, whether you catch or not, you're learning from the blanks, from the good days and the in-between days. And it's always good to chat to friendly local anglers too, fellow club members, and pick their brains. But I've no idea really whether I've picked a first swim that is known for chucking up perch, or, you know, I could be better off on the opposite bank or down on the dam wall. But all you can do without that experience is gain it. Have a go, get a bait in the water. And I really have been a lucky lad over recent weeks in particular. If you follow the channel, you'll know that I've been back up to the Trent at Collingham. Enjoyed some lovely barbel up to 10 pounds over those 3 days, despite the fact the river really was low and not fishing its best by any means. But aside from that, I've also been and had a brilliant day on the lower Itchen fishery, if you've seen that. Some fantastic trotting for chub, grayling, some big trout, and beyond that I've been back to the Hampshire Avon and had 2 brilliant days on that. Another chalk stream earlier this autumn, just a week or so ago since that video was out, and if you've seen that you'll know I enjoyed yet more fantastic fishing with some big chub, some nice grayling and plenty of trout. And just last weekend I was back up on the Trent on a brand new stretch for me and on a private stretch, so I can't say where it was, but I was invited there for a very, very special day's fishing by a very thoughtful, generous and nice bloke who is a fan of the channel. He's been watching some of my efforts to catch big barbel from the Trent and got in touch to say he thought he could smash my personal best, which stood at 12 pound and 1 ounce from Collingham on my very first visit there back in September 2024. And that's a fish that, you know, I thought would remain my PB for quite some time. But this lovely bloke got in touch, invited me up to one of his club stretches on a guest ticket, and we had a brilliant couple of days getting to know each other and fishing some of the most pristine looking stretches of the Trent I've ever seen. They weren't areas that I'd ever fished before, despite spending my youth in love with the river, going on many matches there as a young man. And I just felt really honoured to fish those stretches for a couple of days as his guest. He taught me quite a bit about the art of targeting barbel on the Trent, and I'm always keen to learn. We had a really good laugh, and late on during the second day, my rod tip wrapped round and I had one of the most epic battles I think I've ever had with a fish, certainly in fresh water. I've caught some big fish in my time, whether it's arapaima in Thailand or huge sea fish off the coast of Africa as a younger man. But as freshwater fish fights in the UK go, this big barbel really did put a bend in my rod. And after that brilliant fight, he helped land it for me, and it was a brand new personal best of 14 pound 4 ounces. What an incredible fish. It was a real honour just to hold it and admire it for a short minute before releasing it back into the Trent. But I really am grateful for that trip, and although I couldn't film much apart from the actual fish itself, It's just another special experience that's come my way thanks to the magic of fishing. This is a moment. I've only been seriously barbel fishing on the Trent for a couple of years at most, and this is a brand new easy PB 14 £14 4 ounce of Trent mussel. What a fish, what a scrap.
Congratulations, well done.
So yeah, I've had my fill of river fishing in recent weeks, and it remains my favourite way to fish. Whether it's targeting big barbel on the feeder, straight lead, or trotting for beautiful little grayling on a chalk stream. But today I just wanted to keep it short, sweet and simple. Come to somewhere I'm lucky enough to have within 15 minutes drive of home. Still can't quite believe how much breathtaking water there is within a quick drive of Guildford. Very happy with the move we made, as much as I miss certain aspects of Woking. It's only 25 minutes, half an hour away. Whenever I do want to go and fish some of the old waters that I got very familiar with as a younger man, it is great just to try new places, slowly get to know venues that are within easy reach. And I did just fancy watching a float tip in a lake for once. There are many more river adventures to come. I can promise you I've got 2 Y trips booked before Christmas, both completely new areas of the river, and that's a river I've only just got to know and fish for the first time this year, of course. So there will be more mini adventures to come on the channel, but this weekend I wanted to spend some time with Rachel and Bunny, of course, who's doing very well, 6 months old now, and keep my fishing limited to just a short afternoon somewhere local. If I can catch one nice fish, it will be the cherry on the cake, as I like to say. I've just put a prawn on to give that a go, and I'm continuing to feed a bit of that mush, the prawn, worm and soil mush over the top. I'm not going for a ground bait approach today because there are quite a few slabs in the lake and 2 kingfishers going across the far bank. Although the slabs are lovely to target at other times of the year, I don't particularly want to get their attention. I'd much rather try and single out a perch or even a surprise autumn tench. Now there's a very good angler. Right, I've moved down towards the dam a little bit further, and if it were spring this might look really familiar because it's actually the swim that I fished the very first time I gave Wood Lake a go. And you can see this dead tree leaning out into the water on my right, and I can also see the remains of a dying lily bed, which I actually fished next to back in April and had that one perch from on that beautiful dawn. and so I'm actually going to fish away from the tree a little bit, down by the dying pads where you can see a whole raft of leaves has gathered in this wind that's been blowing into this bank. And I'm going to try something a little bit different here, a bit less feed to begin with, just fish the big visual prawn and give that a go, just to see if there's any sense of fish here. Again, big weed bed, just dying back, should hold a few prey fish. And the sun has actually gone behind a bit of cloud, so it's overcast for the first time this afternoon. And we'll give this new spot a go, where at least I've got some form. I have had a perch from this very spot earlier in the year. Oh, the sun's back out, but definitely getting lower in the sky. The bells, 3 o'clock, so I've probably got a couple of hours left. We'll give this peg a good half hour, 45 minutes, and I think if there's no more action down here, it might be time to make a move over the other side and give a completely new area a go. Get some more chop worm in and settle down for the final hour before dusk. But what a backdrop. Oh, we've got one. Sailed away out the blue on a prawn. So I don't know what it is yet, but let's hope it's the target species. At last. It's a decent fish. It could be a tench, of course. Where's that net? Whoa. Ah, let's not lose this draw. This has been a patient wait. Really sailed away to float. No knocks or anything. Oh, I think it's a tench. I'm not complaining, but not a big old stripey. Yeah, he's a tench. I missed him that time. An autumn tench. Not what I was expecting. What a scrap. He's in. Well, he is icy cold and not what I expected at all. But there are plenty of tench in here, and it's, say, we've not had any frost yet. We're not into the winter, so you've always got a chance. And he put a very welcome bend in the rod while searching for perch. What a backdrop, eh? Absolutely brilliant way to show off a dark green tench. Let's get him back. Just fighting fit in that clear water. Oh, off he goes. Now, as counterintuitive as it may seem to consider a move of swim after catching the first and possibly the only fish of the session, despite the cold water, he really did charge all over the place and made a really good effort of getting into that dying lily pad. So I think all that commotion's probably made the chances of a perch or indeed another tench pretty slim. I'd not had a bite up to that point for a good half hour, 40 minutes, and I just didn't get the sense there were perch in this spot either. And as I said, location's half the key. So now the sun is getting veiled by a bit of light cloud. I think it's time to get over to that far bank, put some fresh chopped worm in a new swim and settle down for the remainder of the afternoon and into the early evening. But of course it's another brand new swim for me. No experience of fishing this before, and it's hard to say whether I've made the right call yet. Moving away from those big dying lily beds that were in evidence on the far side where I was fishing before. But I was tipped off by Lewis, the chap I was talking to earlier, that 2 or 3 swims along this side have been known to give up good perch. And we're not talking monsters, you know, we're talking 1 or 2 pound fish is a good fish, and there's 1 or 2 3-pounders, but it's not a specimen perch water. It's just somewhere I've been told does sometimes throw up a few perch in one session if you can find them. But even in the short afternoon session, I've got to know a bit more about the lake. I've fished it in autumn now, so 3 different seasons I've experienced this lake in. I've caught fish every time, which is good. And although I'm told it's not an easy water, certainly not for the carpers this week, you just learn a little bit more. Noisy gulls. You just learn a little bit more every time you come and every time you fish somewhere. It just remains to be seen whether we can manage the target species before it gets dark. I'll soon be swapping the shades for a head torch. And with this being a bit more of an open water swim without an obvious feature, I will be using feed a bit more. Just chopped up some more worm and we'll be just sprinkling that in over the top with a few maggots. Hopefully draw a few smaller fish in to investigate and in turn perhaps a perch, but we will see. That's a bite on the worm down the edge. And he's a tiddler, but it's the target species. A very small, very greedy little perch. You can see the worm hanging out. Just having a quick go down the edge. Might give it one more go and then I'll go back out on the deeper line. Well, that little perch put a smile on my face, if not a bend in my rod. And it just goes to show it's always worth ringing the changes. I tried not only a switch to worm, but just dropping it in right down in the edge, and it's very shallow down there, only 2 or 3 foot, but that's quite often where the perch can hang out under the marginal overgrowth. And sure enough, a baby version of what I'm after came along and proved my point, but I gave it another 2 or 3 goes down there without another touch, and I think he was a bit of a rogue. So I've put the depth back on, but I'm trying worm on the hook again, and I'm back out where I've been feeding all that chopped worm. And we'll see whether it's possible to manage one more fish before it's too dark to see the float and I need to say my goodbyes. Well folks, I can just about make out the silhouette of that quill tip against the water's surface, but even that's going to fade out in the next minute or two. And I've got the light on the camera to say my goodbyes. Should have been prime time the last 10 or 15 minutes, but it did feel like it wasn't to be. Apart from that one tiny perch down the margin, I've not had any indications in the last hour in this final swim. Whether I should have stayed over the other side where there was the more obvious features of the dying lily beds to fish to, who knows, but I never regret trying to get to know a venue a bit better. I've fished 3 different swims, and even when you're not catching much, you're always learning, as I said earlier. We've had the unexpected capture of an autumn tench, not expected, deep into November, but very welcome. Put a real bend in my rod, and in the absence of any perch, really welcome fish. This session's just gone to show that even when the conditions feel right, for a certain species, it's not always easy to find the fish. And despite that one tiddler down there, I've not got onto the perch today, but that's not to say I won't keep trying, whether it's here or new venues through the rest of the autumn and into the winter. And I think it's going to be one of those videos where the glorious autumn colour on the trees and the brilliant bird life that's always found at this lovely old estate lake will be the stars of the show. And I hope you've enjoyed sharing it with me. This video's also given me the chance to share the tale and a few clips of the capture of my new PB barbel, a giant fish for me, 14 pound plus, 14 pound 4 ounce, and you can hopefully tell how chuffed I was to catch that. The lad that sorted me out, I can only send you my heartfelt thanks again. You know who you are. We got on like a house on fire, had a brilliant 2 days, and had a really good laugh, as well as catching lots of fish. You said the fishing was terrible by usual standards, which was probably due to a cold snap just before we fished, but I had no complaints. And on top of that biggie, I caught several other nice barbel around the 7 or 8 pound mark, which he called splashers. Again, goes to show the quality of fishing available in some places. A couple of nice chub too, and it was just a really memorable day on parts of the Trent I've never fished, and I hope to get back up there one day. Really enjoyed it. Talking of which, I do hope you've enjoyed this video despite the lack of many fish, and as always, stay safe, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon on the bank.